folks. Recently in Germany, Deutschland, the city of Munich held a conference known as the Munich Security Conference. And AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she decided she was going to attend that conference and be a part of that conference. So just showing the American voters she has foreign policy experience, and she's brilliant at it. Well, of course she's brilliant at it, so she thought, because for months prior to the conference, she had tutors instructing her on how to behave, what to say, what not to say, so she could come across as the brilliant bartender that she is. Yeah, that's what they did, and that's what she thought she was going to come across. But instead, she mimicked Kamala Harris with some word salad.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States, and I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point.
Now, to the good people of Taiwan, have no fear. This moron will never be in a position to affect the security of your country. We're just going to toss her aside and understand when it comes to Taiwan, you have nothing to worry about that dope. Well, then she went on to show that she's brilliant in geography. Listen to this brilliant geography.
You know, we look at what happened in Venezuela, for example. It is not a it is not a remark on who Maduro was as a leader. He canceled elections. He was an anti-democratic leader. That doesn't mean that we can kidnap a head of state and engage in acts of war just because the nation is below the equator. And
yeah, you did not know that? You didn't know that? You didn't learn that in Geography 101? That Venezuela is south of the equator? You want to know why you did not learn that? Because it isn't there. Venezuela is not south of the equator, it's north of the equator. Now the dummy, if she didn't know what she didn't know, she probably should have said something to the effect, Venezuela near the equator. She could have gotten away with that because Venezuela is near the equator. But I'm going to give her a little credit, just a little bit. Because if you ask anyone in her age group, in America or younger, where the equator is, you know what they'll say? Oh, I know where the equator is. That's that fruit next to the grapefruit at the supermarket. Is that correct? Yeah, that's what they'll say. And then if you ask them where Venezuela is, they'll tell you, go 2 blocks down, make a right, and then the first left, there it is. Venezuela. So we'll give a little credit there for being stupid when it comes to locating Venezuela. Then she went even further. The United States Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, he spoke at this conference. It's about it was under 30 minutes, his speech, and it was magnificent. It's the best I've heard in the last 77 years. I'll have a link to it in the description. But listen to part of what he had to say.
Our horses, our ranches, our rodeos, the entire romance of the cowboy archetype that became synonymous with the American West. These were born in Spain.
Now listen to the dummy's reaction to what he had to say in an attempt to correct it. Yeah, she's going to correct him.
my favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
So according to the dope, there were no cowboys from Spain. The cowboys originated right here in the Western Hemisphere among the Native Americans, among the Mexicans. Yeah, they were the first cowboys. Never mind Spain, you dope. Yeah, all right. Cowboys. Boys with cows. Boys rounding up cows, all right? So now if they were cowboys in the Western Hemisphere, not from Spain, prior to Spain arriving in the New World, what were they herding? What were they rounding up? There was no cows. There was no horses. Let me explain that. Horses came to the Western Hemisphere that cowboys rode from the Spaniards, the conquistadors, and it put fear into the Native Americans because they never saw a horse before. This huge animal put fear into them. Alright, so if they didn't ride horses, the cowboys prior to the Spaniards, the Native Americans, what were they herding? Because cowboys. There was no cows in the Western Hemisphere. You know who brought the first cattle here? Christopher Columbus, the good Italiano, huh? He brought the first cows here so he could make some spicy meatballs. Listen, here in America, the next time you bite into a hamburger, the next time you eat some a nice juicy steak, you know what you need to do? Thank an Italian for that, because the cow came into this country brought to you by Christopher Columbus, not AOC, or the Native Americans. Native Americans was fantastic, but they did not have cows in this hemisphere, and they did not have horses here prior to the Spaniards, prior to that Italian Christopher Columbus. What AOC needs to do is go back to doing what she was doing once, tending bar, because the inebriated patrons are going to think she's brilliant no matter what she says. Not so much because of what she's saying. She's easier on the eyes if you're inebriated. All right. All right, folks. We'll see you. God bless you. God bless America. And God bless the nation you happen to be in. See you.